But mature masculine power has just 3 components to it from psychology. And these are somewhat scientific sounding words, but I'm going to explain them thoroughly. Observing ego, mature boundary function, and confidence, which someone mentioned earlier. What do you do to get confidence? You can't buy it. Observing ego, in my world, my term, psychoanalysis, is essentially cool. Observing ego is a learned skill that can only be acquired after abstract thinking develops in our preteen years. It's essentially the ability to step outside yourself and look back and make a judgment of how you're doing in real time. It's sort of like being able to coach yourself in real time. An example of it would be, say that you and I are in a verbal argument, and I have some good observing ego skill. I'll step outside myself and look back and say, gee, I'm angry right now, but I'm still fighting. Step outside myself again, look back, and I'll say, is this getting anywhere? But I'm still fighting. Finally, I'll step outside myself and look back and say, no, it's not getting anywhere, so why don't I quit? And then I do. Now, what would have happened if I didn't have observing ego ability? Keep going. You might end up getting in a fist fight, right? You're just on animal behavior, no rational thought. Observing ego is cool. It's your very ability to fine-tune what you're doing in approaching a woman as you do so. Has anybody ever had the experience of, you ran into this woman and you had a few moments communicating to her, and she was just so incredible, you couldn't believe it, but then you got blown out. Something happened and it just didn't go any further. And then hours later or days later, you slapped yourself in the forehead and said, what was I thinking? Why did I say that? Or why didn't I say that? Or why didn't I do that? Anybody ever, none of you guys ever had that experience? Well, you didn't have observing ego in the moment with that woman. That's why that happened. That's why you were slapping yourself later on. And why you had the curious dry feeling in your lower abdomen. Okay? Well, observing ego, this ability to coach yourself in real time, can only happen if you're in a present-minded state. Okay? Have you ever driven your car to work and you don't really remember how you did that? Sort of like you just, oh, here I am, even though it's a half an hour drive. Where was your mind during that time, during that drive? It was in the past or the future. You were reviewing something from the past, or you were worrying or planning something in the future. You weren't in the present. Well, when you're in the past or the future, your life is essentially on autopilot. And you'll get whatever the world wants to give you. You end up getting the job no one else wanted, or the relationship no one else wanted, the life that no one else wanted, if you lack observing ego.